My grandmother used to tell me stories. Not bedtime stories, real stories. Ones that begin with words like, "Now don't tell your mother," or, "Well, we weren't exactly supposed to be there." But there was one story I never forgot. She said when she was just a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, she'd been to a party at the governor's mansion in Albany. Not just any party, a Bathtub Gin party. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical sense. I mean the actual bathtub, clawfoot, porcelain, shining like it had just been scrubbed, was filled to the brim with homemade gin. People were dipping it out with ladles. One woman stirred hers with a peppermint stick. A man in a bowler hat was using a silver teacup like it was high society. And all of it, every last drop, completely illegal. It was the Roaring '20s after all. Prohibition was in full swing. But the parties? They didn't stop. They just got more creative. She said she wandered off, as kids do, away from the music, past a hallway lined with old paintings and the smell of cigar smoke and perfume. And that's when she saw it. The bathroom door wide open, the tub, glistening like a crystal pond in a fairy tale. Except this one reeked of juniper and something sharp and sweet. People took turns ladling it out like soup at a church social. Except this wasn't church, and no one was whispering hymns. They were laughing, telling stories, talking politics, dancing between the rooms like the law didn't exist. And then she felt a hand on her shoulder. "Well now, what's a little lady like you doing poking her nose into grown-up business?" She looked up and saw him. Uncle Al. Not just her uncle, not just the governor, but Al Smith, the happy warrior himself, suspenders, bow tie, a teacup in hand that most definitely did not hold tea. She thought he'd be mad, but instead he knelt beside her, eye level, and said, "Sometimes, sweetheart, the law's wrong. And a little joy, a little freedom, it's worth fighting for." He gave her a wink, ruffled her hair, and led her back into the party. She told me that story more than once over the years. Always with a grin. Always with a little spark in her eye. Like she still couldn't believe she'd been there. That she'd seen it for herself. A porcelain tub full of rebellion. A room filled with people who refused to be told what joy was allowed. And one man, her uncle, standing tall in the middle of it all, laughing louder than the rest. Not because he didn't care about the rules, but because he knew the rules were wrong. History remembers Al Smith as the first Catholic to run for president, as the working-class hero of the Lower East Side, the man who stood up against Prohibition, and later stood his ground even when the tides of power turned against him. But I remember him differently. I remember him through the eyes of a little girl, sneaking sips of jazz and laughter from behind a marble column in the governor's mansion. A girl who saw that sometimes, even in the highest halls of politics, there's still room for mischief, for music, and for a bathtub full of gin. Cheers, Uncle Al.